Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Race Course, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Also brought to you by Wizard Race and Sports.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this beautiful Saratoga Saturday morning. A little bit later on, the Jim Dandy, the Vanderbilt. So great stakes day, great card otherwise, and great weather to boot. If you're planning to come up, you have picked a gorgeous day and a fun day here on Racing Across America, live from our Clare Court set. A little bit later on, we'll be joined by Brian Hernandez, this year's Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks winner. Put together a great weekend on Kentucky Derby weekend, but he's in town, obviously, for the Jim Dandy on Gould's Gold. A little bit later than that, Jason Werth, one of the owners of Dornoch, World Series owner, and now he's transitioned over to becoming a World Series winner, and now he's transitioned over to becoming an owner on the thoroughbred side. Enthusiastic about it and a great ambassador for the sport. So we'll have him a little bit later on. But I mentioned Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby victory for Brian Hernandez as jockey. Trainer was Kenny McPeek, and he joins me this morning. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me again.
Happy to have you jump in. And I'll pull it up right here. I'll go back because I saw you in the winner's circle right after this race last Saturday. It's the Coaching Club American Oaks. We'll look at number 3, Torpedo. Anna put on just a show in that race. I said, can you come over Sunday morning? You said, hey, reserve that from the family, but we'll jump in next Saturday morning. So happy to have you here because I'd love to get your thoughts on this. As a fan and a handicapper, boy, what a performance last week.
I love when she switched over to the right lead. She just squirted away from him. It's always impressive to watch her out there every day, seeing her in the morning too. It's rare air to be around.
How is she? How'd she come out of the race, and how's she been in the morning since?
She's came out fine. We did a little gate schooling this morning. For those that follow me on Twitter, I tweeted out when she was behind the gate, and she had a nice sweet gallop this morning, and that's her routine. She typically goes out at 5:30, but today we took her at 6:30 because we wanted a gate schooler. She got off poorly in the coaching club, and that's something that we don't want to see happen again. So we're just doing a little practice run right now, but she's all good. Perfect.
Talk a little bit about that. There was a little skip. I thought Brian gave her a great ride, though. He kind of got up, and then he decided, well, I'm not going to challenge all the way around, and sat back and made the move.
Well, that's the unique thing about her. Even when things go wrong, she can make up for it real quickly. So he said that she got a little antsy in there and that they were taking a little while to load, even though it was a short field. But she needs to do better at that. She's gotten off slowly a couple of times in her career, and that's something that we could rectify by just taking her over there and giving her a little gate schooling.
You doing it right here? Right
we do it at the Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah, she primarily trains on the Oklahoma side. I keep her over there. We like it over there. The horses are very relaxed on that side. I actually have trained maybe 4 or 5 horses all summer on the main. So, we stay in our neighborhood.
Yeah, you're based over there.
Yeah, we're on the other side of 5th Avenue.
Yeah, and for folks who've never been over across the street, it is a great and quiet and training track. They expanded it. They widened it, last year or the year before? How do you like the...
They did a great job. Glenn Kozak's done a wonderful job on that track over there. It's really consistent, and we like it since they've widened it. They lost some pine trees, but I think that was a good thing. And we still, actually, Wayne Lucas and I typically walk up and down that horse path all morning this time of year. It's nice to visit with Wayne and chat.
Who is in there, and we'll talk. He's got one in this afternoon as well, and we'll talk about the Jim Dandy in a moment. But I wanted to, Torpedo Anna, you said in the winner's circle afterwards, the Alabama, who's going to be happy at Alabama? Short price, and the bettors won't be happy. And so it's going to be interesting to see what decision you made. But I pulled up, you are not afraid to take your shot at the boys because it was just a few years ago. So, Swiss Skydiver in the funny scheduled pandemic year, you won the Alabama, you ran second in the Kentucky Oaks, and we're going to show here she is winning the Preakness. So you're not afraid to step in against the boys, and Swiss Skydiver certainly proved you right here a couple of years ago.
Well, she got a 5-pound weight allowance, and that comes in pretty handy
Yeah.
when they win by a head. But that filly was some kind of special, and so is this one. And I'm gonna chat with the ownership today. I still want to do a little research on some speed figures, and we're going to probably announce a decision about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay.
And they've got something lined up front side with Fox Sports, so I think you could anticipate that we're going to make something decisive and kind of get it out of the way.
So Fox rates a little more highly than me.
Well, it is what it is. But I want to see the thoroughgraphs on the probables, possibles. We are going to nominate to both, and then I need to talk to the ownership group a little bit and get everybody, take everybody's temperature on what they're thinking, and ultimately it will be my decision though.
It certainly, I think everybody came out of the race last week thinking it kind of wrapped up the Philly Eclipse at this point with the win.
Well, you would think so, yeah. But that's remains to be seen. And there's several different paths that I could take. If we go on the Alabama, I do think it's a bit of a kind of I hate to say it, it could be a bit of a coronation as opposed to it'd be a poor betting race.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be good for Naira. We realize that. Very short field likely. If we do that, that's great. If I did that, that's the easy path. You could come back in the cotillion, and you could either go Breeders' Cup Distaff, or even if you wanted to test her on the turf, we could QE2 at Keeneland, which is an interesting race. So that's kind of what I would call the easy path. If we went Travers, and let's say we get beaten the Travers, we can still come back into the cotillion. We could still come back in either the QE2 or the Distaff. So we still have, a lot of good stuff to look forward to. Of course, you can't assume anything in this game. But if we were to lose the Travers, if we were to win the Travers, I think that I might stamp her as horse of the year. We'll see. Of course,
that beats the boys.
Yeah, it still says that we got more season left, and it's only August, but she would have made a statement that's really loud. Just gives me goosebumps to think about it. But is it daring? Is it a little out of the box? A little bit of pressure, but it's good stuff.
So you're thinking about potentially grass?
Well, like I said, that's just kind of a if and an option. I do think that in the long term, people that buy mares and at some point in time, she'll either be sold as a broodmare or we will race out of her. But if you saw another dimension and she won on the grass as well, then you would have maybe the attraction of a European buyer, foreign investors, Japanese, etc. So that's just something that would add to her resume. That's all.
And talking about buying and selling and whatnot, whenever we have you in here, we always kind of marvel at the great job you do at the auctions. And she was purchased for $40,000. Congratulations.
It's almost embarrassing.
Ooh, yikes.
It hurts my budget, to be honest. But, I actually get a real kick out of doing that. My father used to say, son, you need to learn how to train horses like Wayne Lucas. And I said, no, Dad, I need horses that Wayne Lucas trains. So when I go to a horse sale, I bust my tail to try to find the best horses I can get my hands on. And I don't discriminate on who they're by and who they're out of. I try to find the individual. And then I do believe that if you can beat the market to the punch and you can buy a horse for the right price, and you can have a lot of fun for value. And there are a lot of people out there that don't have what I'd call Sheikh Mohammed's budget, and they want to have a good time. And I think I offer that opportunity.
There's no question about it. So I showed, you're not afraid to step in against the boys with Swiss Skydiver winning the Preakness, but I also wanted to show a little Travers experience. I pulled up the Travers from 2012, the unique dead heat, and I think after we watch the replay, we can see the infield with two canoes given the dead heat. But this is Golden Ticket from you, the number 3 horse, dead heating with Kieran's horse, number 6 Alpha. Reminisce a little bit about
David Cohen did a fantastic job on this horse. He cut the corner. We talked about it before the race. I said, this horse has to live on the rail this whole race. You cannot you can't lose an inch to win it. You're going to have to put all your eggs in the rail basket. And David got it done. And, you know, the funny thing about that race is that Karen McLaughlin and I have known each other since we were 10 or 11 years old.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. We actually played on a midget football team, and he was a year older than me, but.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we played on this midget football team called the Lions in Lexington. And so we've always been familiar with each other and kind of South Side Lexington boys. He went to a different high school than I did. I went to Tates Creek, and I believe he went to Lafayette. But we you know, familiar with ourselves, or we're seeing each other at the racetrack, and migrated to the racetrack out of school. And Karen and I are walking down the steps, that Travers, and we looked at each other, and I said, well, what do you think? And he says, I'm going to be so mad if I lose, because he'd already been second in the Travers. I said, me too, because I'd been second with Repent. And they flashed the tote board up, and they actually put my number up and him second. And then they flashed dead heat. And we looked at each other, and we high-fived each other. It was like, okay, awesome. We both won. Yeah. So that was pretty neat. You know, Karen, great guy. And, you know, was doing a great job with Lily Saez as well, you know. So, yeah, that was for me kind of a unique moment. How do two kids from Lexington,
I didn't realize
45 years later, dead heat for a win in the Travers? How does that happen?
And then, as I say, the unique situation with the two canoes in the infield. And folks aren't familiar, the canoe gets painted in the winner's colors. And there were two, you know, with the dead heat, there were two canoes. Let's talk a little bit about today, Gould's Gold in the Jim Dandy. I pulled up a replay of the Ohio Derby, and we will take a look. Batten Down, who is also in today's race, is going to be the winner, the number 9 horse, but you run second with Gould's Gold. How did he come out of this race? What were your thoughts on this race, and how's he coming into this afternoon?
Well, every race he's moved forward, this horse, and he needs to move forward again. He had a little tricky trip in the turn, and I think Batten Down had his own way and was able to spurt away from us and coming out of that turn, and we couldn't quite run him down. But this colt's got a big heart about him. He needs to find another level. I think they gave him a 98 buyer last time. Is that what they gave him last time?
90 flat.
90. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he needs to find another level. He ran a 10 on the Ragazans, and I think he needs to run an 8 to be able to win this race. And we're going to need to see a couple of the big boys falter. I mean, if Sierra Leone doesn't get the pace he wants as a heavy favorite, I envision the jockeys probably trying to keep him from having anything to run at. You know, can Batten Down hold the lead? Can Seize the Gray go with him? So how that race unfolds is going to be interesting. Fierceness, another one that seems to want to have a lead. You know, I see my horse probably laying 4th or 5th and trying to get in some sort of position where he can make a run at the front runners.
It's been a year, though, where the 3-year-olds are kind of beating up on each other. There's a small handful that have strung a couple of races together. But for the most part, it's always worth taking a shot, it seems like, this year.
Well, 6-horse field, there's not a whole lot to lose. And this is the same ownership group as Mystic Dan. And, you know, they're ambitious to find out how good he is. And he still has the A of the condition, which we can chase at a later date. But at this point, we're going to let him have a chance to play with the big boys. And let's see if he can get it done.
Speaking of Mystic Dan, I pulled up a replay of the Kentucky Derby just to get your thoughts. Again, it was a great weekend for you and Brian, stringing together the Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. But first off, before talking about the weekend, just give us a Mystic Dan update.
Yeah, pretty simple stuff. Another great ride here, Brian cutting the corner. But so he ran here in the Belmont, and you know, this horse hadn't been out of training in 11 or 12 months, and he's done everything we've asked of him. Brian got off of him that day and said to me, Kenny, I just don't think he handled the surface. I don't know why, but he felt like he was spinning his wheels out there. And admittedly, we'd ask a lot of him, but we didn't think he liked the racetrack. Okay, so we bring him out of the race, and you want to let the dust settle a little bit. You don't want to get in any hurry. I don't have any pressure on me. The ownership they're wonderful. I said, let's give him 30 days. We went over him right after the race. Sound, no problem. Gave him 30 days. Wasn't overly pleased that he'd had enough time. And So what am I going to do if I bring you back in 30 days and then I try to make the Travers over a track that I'm not sure he likes? I didn't really like that setup. And if I'm going to give him time, why don't I give him a little more and whatever he needs? Because he's rewarded us in a huge way, and we need to reward him if it means a little bit extra rest. That's okay. But what we want to do is we want to see him get bigger and stronger, and then come back a better horse as a 4-year-old. He's still got some things to prove as a stallion prospect. This horse got a great mind, really, really easy to be around. The stallion operators have kind of, he's by Golden Sense, and they're not sure what to do with him. Of course, I trained Harlan's Holiday, and he was by Harlan, and they didn't know what to do with him. And he ends up being the sire of Into Mischief. And, of course, Golden Sense by Into Mischief, one of the early good horses by him. But if it means we give him 90 days, we give him 90. But for me, it doesn't matter. Whatever's right for him is what's right for him. And there doesn't need to be any expectation of he has to run here, he has to run there. And I'm not going to make any schedule. I'm going to let him tell me.
And it's nice that the ownership people have another little 3-year-old that they can play around with. And but again, now I want to get your opinion, because we saw they made a late run. It got a little dicey there coming down the stretch in the Kentucky Derby the day before. Torpedo Anna looked very good. I've said to you before, you might not remember, but I had you on closing weekend at the fairgrounds, and we talked about a bunch of horses you had at the fairgrounds, and I think we're running the same day at Turfway. Mm-hmm. And when we got done, we finished the conversation, and we were in the commercial or whatever, and you said, hey, we didn't talk about Torpedo Anna at Oaklawn next week. So I made sure to alert people all week long when I went on the air. But she has turned out very nice, and the Oaks was a great victory. Just talk about being a Kentucky guy and putting together the third trainer ever to have that Oaks Derby double on the same year, in the same year.
Still just on a bit of a cloud about all of it. I had what I'd call been around the bullseye on the Oaks, and I've been second 3 times, which was a little frustrating. I went into this year, told my wife they won't beat her. I don't see any way. She's been so sturdy, that filly. But the Derby, we had this notion that we could, but we needed everything to go right. Yeah. And it did. I mean, Brian did a magnificent job. We drew a good draw, but through it all, I told my wife 3 weeks out, for some reason, I think we're going to win them both. And she said, what do you think? And I said, well, if we do, it might change our life a little bit. And it has. I go into Starbucks in Louisville and have to sign autographs. I've had to, I don't know how many bourbon bottles I've signed, but it's a real honor. If that's the worst thing that comes out of winning the Oaks and the Derby, is that you've got to sign a bunch of bourbon bottles, etc., programs. But it's, what we've worked hard for a long time. And just a real pleasure to have done it,
Yeah, for a Kentucky guy.
Feel very, very lucky.
To be a great, for anybody, any trainer. Like I say, the third trainer ever to do it. You only get one shot every year. You managed to be the third trainer to put together that double in the same year. It was a big weekend, and they both ran very well. I have to ask you before we let you go, because I like this horse tomorrow. In tomorrow's 6th race, you have McKenzie's Glory. McKenzie on the win end is off to a little bit of a slow start, but I want to say I had the numbers. I think he has 10 first-time starts. 5 of them run second. So I think he's kind of better than maybe the record indicates. What are you thinking about McKenzie's Glory tomorrow?
Well, she's got a lot of second dam sire Sadler's Wells, and her hind leg looks very much like a Sadler's Wells, which is obviously a grass horse. I think she'll run good. She's a filly that's going to need to develop some more physically, get a little bigger, stronger. But, of course, she's 2-year-olds. And for my young horses, a lot of times it's a test drive to teach them something and to get them into gear and let them learn a little bit of adversity and coming from behind a bit. But my expectation is good. And I think McKenzie himself is going to be all right. I mean, we bought, I want to say 4 or 5, and between Volatile and McKenzie, they were the first crop stallions that I was most attracted to at auction. And the ones I've got are coming. They're just not quite ready. And I tend to be a fall 2-year-old guy anyway. I don't typically win a lot in the summer. I win my share here and there in the summer, but in the fall, I see us just really rocking and rolling by September, October, November.
Well, I always say those 2-year-olds that come out of the fall meets down at Churchill are the 2-year-olds you have to watch going into the 3-year-old season.
Funny story. So I've got this buddy of mine who he's a player. He likes to gamble, and he calls me, who you like? And So I gave him some advice years ago. I said, listen, I said, if I were gambling on Kenny McPeek, I would wait till September, October, November. And he's like, well, why is that? I said, well, usually my 2-year-olds, I'm not a 4.5 guy, 5 furlong guy. So usually they're coming around a little bit later in the season. I said, we usually leave Saratoga. This meet can humble you.
Yeah.
It's so tough. And it's not it's an away game for us Kentucky horsemen. So we come up here and we're kind of playing against the grain a little bit, but we get our share and that's fine. But by fall, I've still got conditions left. My 2-year-olds are coming around. And so he nicknamed me McFall.
I like that. That's very good.
So, but this year he calls and says, I think I made a mistake. I think you're McSpring now. But I don't know that I'm McSummer.
Well, that would all work
So
out,
whatever.
in the end. I like that.
I got a couple 2-year-old fillies running at Ellis tomorrow or Monday.
Okay.
Nice. One of those two's, well, actually both of them. I mean, we should get a win out of one or the other.
What are the names?
Oh, you'll have to look them up, won't you?
Yeah.
No, Jewel Destiny and Take Charge Milady.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One of them's a gun runner, and the other one's by Take Charge Indy.
Down at
But,
Ellis. And I
yeah.
also saw you had one in the stake at Laurel tomorrow. Frosted Departure.
Yeah, he's pretty one-dimensional. That horse, if he gets the lead and he gets his way, he's pretty tough. But he's doing well and good listed stake for him.
Yeah. Ken, appreciate the visit as always. No, it's always busy. You got one in the opener. Do you know if you're in the opener?
I drew in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of that horse? Spurgeon?
I think he's a dirt horse that wants to go long.
Okay.
I think he'll run okay in there. He's a bit of a box-footed horse, club-footed horse. He's going to want dirt, and he's going to want a mile and a 16th dirt, 2 turns. But we're going to give him a run because physically, he's trained well and done well. But I don't think he's a grass horse, and he's going to grind it out and make a bit of a showing. If he were to win, it'd be a pleasant surprise.
All right. So we'll look for those, and the 2 down at Ellis. Maybe we'll give an extra look too. But certainly we'll be rooting for you this afternoon with Gould's Gold in the Jim Dandy, and looking forward to the announcement later today and see where Torpedo Anna might wind up, because she's clearly something special. Ken, appreciate the visit. Good luck with
My
the
pleasure.
remainder of the meet. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Brian Hernandez will join us a little bit later on. Jason Werth. Stay tuned.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back. We alluded to my next guest with Kenny McPeek because the big weekend Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby, Ken was training, but my next guest was riding, Brian Hernandez. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Seth.
Thanks for stopping by. I asked you last week if you could come in Sunday morning after the nice win in the Coaching Club American Oaks on Torpedo Anna, and you said, I'm headed out of town, but let's do it next Saturday morning. All works out. I like it.
Yeah, great.
We were just talking before you went on the air. You're kind of bouncing all over the place this summer.
Yeah, we've kind of been all over. We've been up here the first couple weeks, and then I've done a couple Mondays at Ellis Park, and then tomorrow morning I go back to Kentucky. I ride Ellis Sunday and Monday, and then Indiana on Wednesday.
And you're now a Kentucky-based guy, right? But you started down in Louisiana, from what and Louisiana is like a hotbed of jockeys over the. I had Kendrick here the other day, and talk a little bit about getting your start down in Louisiana. And I asked Kendrick, did you ever do those kind of unsanctioned? Kendrick said, yeah, I did one of those, and then I said, I'm going to the regular racetrack. Did you start and get in some of those kind of races?
Yeah, I did one summer on the bush tracks. I was galloping horses on a farm for Dale Angel, and then I was like 13 years old, and I was riding a few of the bush tracks on the weekends. I was kind of that was our weekend treat. We'd go down to on Saturday and Sundays and do the bush tracks.
And then you started the career, and I didn't mention when I introduced you, Apprentice Eclipse back in 2004. So obviously you got off to a good start. And were you based down in Louisiana to start the career?
When I first started riding, one of the biggest things was my parents told me I had to graduate high school.
Okay.
So my senior year of high school, they got me start riding down there at Delta Downs. And I rode Delta and Evangeline up until graduation day. And then right after graduation, I moved to Churchill Downs.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, Fred.
So you lived up to the demands of the parents, and it was like,
Then they shipped me off. They had me already lined up with I don't know if you remember Fred Amy.
Sure. Yeah.
He had Shane Sellers at the time, and Shane Sellers had told me when we were down in Louisiana. He goes, "Look, when you're done with high school, just be ready to move up to Kentucky. I got you set up with an agent and everything," and it worked out well from there.
Still wintertime down in Louisiana, right? Fairgrounds?
Yeah, we own a home down there right outside the back gate of the fairgrounds, so we try to make that home base in the winter.
Ron Maquette, right? He's on the back stretch. Your neighbors?
No, Mike Stidham and Brett Calhoun.
Okay.
They have house. Moquette's on the backside of the track at Oaklawn.
Oaklawn, that's right. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's Oaklawn. Yeah. Let's go back and pull up a replay. And I asked the guys to pull up the entire race from last week because I want you to talk the thought process as she kind of hops coming out of the gate, Torpedo Anna. And you gave her a great ride. You kind of didn't want to be sitting back. You moved her up into the mix, but obviously you didn't want to challenge all the way around. And then you decided, let me pull back a little bit. But take us through the start of the race where, again, she hopped a little bit at the start.
She hopped a little bit. She got back on her feet so quick that she was able to get that spot between Intricate and Leslie's Rose there. And then once she did that, I was like, okay, we're going to be in good position here. And I just wanted to track Leslie's Road as long as possible. And I was kind of watching her on the lead, and she looked like she was traveling a lot harder than Torpedo Anna. So I wasn't really worried about her. And then she got a little separation on us. But then when we got into the second turn and she switched leads and I asked her to go forward just a half a step, she got to her so quickly. I was like, okay, we're going to be good here. We'll worry about the other two that are behind us, making sure that we just have enough horse to get to the eighth pole on our own terms. And it was pretty much just all her.
Yeah. As they hit the far turn, I was standing with some people, and right about here where the separation comes, you're like, is it going to be her? Not going to be her day? And then about halfway on the turn, I was like, nah, she's going to fire.
Yeah. I mean, even here, she let Leslie's Rose get away from her a little bit, but she never panicked, and neither did I. We just kind of waited and bid our time. And then from here, you can see she's got her over a barrel at that point. You knew from there it would take a really good horse to run past her after that. She's
clearly a very special horse. Do you get that from riding it for as long as you have? Can you kind of sense that when you're on a horse that's kind of at a different level?
Yeah, and in her case, she's just so naturally competitive that she wants to go out and just show her dominance, and that's what she does. That's what she's done all year this year so far.
And again, it was a great ride with the start. Kenny said they're doing some gate schooling, so hopefully getting better coming out of the gate. But you did a great job the other day. So again, congratulations on the nice win in the coaching club. Ken said this afternoon he'll be making the announcement on where next. Yeah. So we're looking forward to you there. Showed also the Derby replay earlier, but we'll show the stretch run again. And Ken kind of tipped his cap to you. I will as well, because there was a lot of conversation afterwards. It was a great ride on Mystic Dan. You were able to save the ground coming into the stretch. Talk a little bit about the ride on Mystic Dan.
That was our game plan the whole time. When we drew the 3 post earlier in the week, Kenny and I had sat down and talked about it, and we decided that we just needed to let him leave there and get in good position early in the race, and then from there just save all the ground possible and try to weave our way through. And fortunately enough, we found a little pocket where we were all by ourselves the whole way around there. And then right before we straightened for home, I knew that if I was able to find just a little gap, I needed to go ahead and take the chance because I wanted to get the jump on the deep closers. And
Did you hear him coming?
I didn't hear him coming, but I figured somebody was still running because you can hear the crowd. The crowd had gotten so loud. But when we hit the wire, I wasn't sure if we had won or not because it was close. Past derbies as well. Horses normally don't close that hard from like the 16th hole home, and this year they did, so it was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah. And when did you? So if you didn't realize, when did you realize that you? I mean, where were you on the comeback and whatnot? Was Donner Brothers?
No, I hurried up and galloped out to the head outrider there, Greg Blasey, and I just kept asking him, and he goes, "Well, the spotter up in the announcer's booth said you held on, but they haven't posted it yet." So then over there at Churchill, they have the big screen on the backside. So we just kind of stared up there and waited for the slow-mo video to come back on. And once we seen it on the slow-mo, we're like, oh man, it really happened.
Which puts the exclamation point on the weekend. And I'm going to replay the Kentucky Oaks here, Torpedo Anna from Friday. I said to Kenny, I congratulated him, a Kentucky guy. He was the third trainer to ever do the double in the same year. You're only the 9th jockey all-time to do the Oaks Derby double in the same weekend. And again, now you're a Kentucky-based guy. Talk a little bit about, stringing these two, the Friday highlight and the Saturday highlight together.
Yeah, we went into Friday really confident in her. And when she went on and dominated them like she did on Friday, we were kind of quietly confident in Mystic Dan, but at the same time, like you said, for only 3 trainers to be able to do it, it's a tough feat. So we just went in there knowing that if we gave him a good trip and got trusted in him, that we'd be able to pull it off. And fortunately enough, all the stars aligned, and it was our weekend, I guess is the best way to put it.
Again, being a Kentucky guy and having a nice riding career, a weekend like that just has to be spectacular.
Yeah, it's a weekend you always dream of, but at the same time, you don't really expect it to happen. So for it to happen the way it did, and for it to be the 150th Derby in Oaks, it was a proud moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it was a couple of nice days. Again, kind of knowing Kenny and having him had on a show before, and I had him on just a few weeks before. I was telling him the story. I had him on Fairgrounds closing weekend. We talked about a bunch of horses, and when the conversation ended, we were in commercial. He said, "You didn't talk about Torpedo Anna at Oaklawn next week." I said, "Oh well." So I mentioned it during the rest of the week, but it was a nice weekend, certainly. I also wanted to pull up as I was, kind of going through some of our notes for the show today, a little Saratoga experience for Brian Hernandez. I'm pulling up the 2012 Whitney. It's Fort Larned, a nice Grade 1 victory up here at Saratoga. Give some memories of being up here and getting a Grade 1 victory.
Yeah, that was pretty much my first trip ever up to Saratoga. I'd been up here one other time to ride a horse, and at that time it was first Grade 1 I'd ever won as well. And I don't think I understood the magnitude of just how big the Whitney was until after we won it. But Fort Larned, he was just such a special horse. He was so cool that he was one of those naturally fast horses that he was just so quick that midway down the backside, those horses would get to chasing after him, and he'd just run them off their feet. I mean, he'd run 110 buyers just about every start. It was something special.
Yeah, and to get a win like that. Do you remember your first career victory?
Yeah, it was at Delta Downs going, I think, 6.5, which is 2 turns there. It was for an old guy I was galloping horses for. His name was Doris Avery. He was a really good trainer down there in Louisiana.
And we've kind of alluded to, you started in the bush tracks and down in Louisiana, Apprentice Eclipse Award. But how did you become a jockey? What was the thought process early on that brought you to the racetrack to become a jockey?
My dad rode for 20, 25 years. So I grew up on the backside of Evangeline and Delta Downs and stuff like that. It was kind of, instead of going to summer camps and stuff like that, we'd go on the backside and clean stalls and do all the training with Dad every morning.
And a number of relatives are involved, correct?
Yeah, I have a little brother that still rides. He's riding at Ellis today. And then I have a sister. She rode for about 5 or 6 years, and she started a family. So now she's living down there in Louisiana.
And again, going back to the Grade 1 victory in the Whitney, but then a Grade 1 victory last week in the Coaching Club American Oaks, and you've ridden at a number of tracks around the country. I always say it. One of the fun parts of Saratoga is I think the fans are so clued in after a win like last week you come back and there's the applause, and just reflect a little bit on winning at Saratoga. And as I say, the fan reaction up here.
Yeah, it's just always a fun place to come because, like you said, the fans are so interactive and everybody knows what's going on. Just like when I walked onto the grounds opening day, everybody's congratulating us still on the Derby and Oaks weekend. So it's a fun, special place. And like I tell everyone, if you never got a chance to make it up here yet and you're a racing fan, you definitely have to come see what it's all about.
Yeah, the mecca for horse racing fans. There's no question about it. Brian, we'll let you go because I know Kenny said he got in the first race. Yeah, so we'll let you get over and get going. And wish you a lot of good luck as well on Gould's Gold in the Jim Dandy a little bit later this afternoon. What are your thoughts on Gould's Gold?
He's going to have to step up a little bit, but each race so far he's gotten better and better. He was second last time to Bill's horse. So.
Yeah, batting down.
Yeah, batting down.
2 starts back in the Sir Barton. He was very close to Corporate Power. Was a good one.
And the Sir Barton race, I think he should have beat Corporate Power that day. We made the lead and he got a little lost, and he jumped some the gate tracks. They still had the tracks across the gates over at the 16th pole. And when he seen those, he kind of got to jumping around and it cost him. And then he stepped up and he was second last time. So if he steps up again today and the race flow sets up well for him, he's got a big chance.
Well, like I said to Ken, it's a year where the 3-year-olds are just kind of beating each other.
Yeah,
so you take your shot.
Exactly.
Going to be very interesting. Brian, appreciate it. And again, congratulations on that big Kentucky Oaks Derby weekend. The win last weekend in the Coaching Club American Oaks. And wherever Torpedo Anna may go, we'll wish you good luck going forward as well. Travel safe back to Kentucky tomorrow morning. But good luck this afternoon at Jim Dandy.
Thanks for having me on again.
All right, Brian Hernandez. We're going to, as we go to the break, another jockey. I met up with John Velasquez yesterday, the backyard of the jockeys room, because I wanted to talk a little bit about it's PDJF Day, Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fun Day. They'll have an autograph session on the front side. You can make a donation there. Tomorrow night, karaoke over across the street at the Saratoga Harness Track in their Vapors nightclub. And so I thought I'd catch up with John and just let him on a day with a very worthy racing charity. I wanted to make you aware of that. So just a few minutes with John Velasquez from yesterday. We'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.
Yeah, well, we're coming to the normally annual karaoke night that, we have a lot of fun with it. I mean, it's been well received by the public, so we have a lot of fun, and we hope to continue raising a lot of money, for the PDJF, which obviously is what we do it every year. But yeah, decided to try to go and sing again. I'm not very good, but I do it for a good cause.
It's been successful, hasn't it?
Yes, it has been very successful, and we're very pleased the way it's done for this many years, and people still, given donated money and coming to see the show. So it's been really good, and we have to say that we're blessed that people are liking it and being behind it.
Am I correct that there's a little fan participation now, East Coast versus West Coast?
Yes. So a few years ago, we started back a little competition between the West Coast and the East Coast. So it's having fun. But, again, those guys tried to beat the guys from here. We tried to beat the guys back before. So it makes it a nice rivalry but for a great cause as well. So raising good money.
So you're going to sing?
Oh, yeah, I'm singing.
Have you been practicing?
Let's say I'm going to try to sing. That's every year. My wife kind of carries here a little bit better than me, but it's for fun, and like I said, it's a great cause.
Do you practice?
We did practice once last week, so hopefully that little practice we did, that would do okay.
Who should people look for? Some of the jockeys really sing.
I know some of them can really sing. I mean, like Jose Ortiz is really good, though. Junior Arabo is very good, but he sings in the group. I think there are a couple of the guys. Dylan is good. I don't know if he's singing, but I think his sister is singing. So a couple of guys that actually can follow a good tune and have a nice song behind them. Yeah.
Also on Saturday there will be the autograph section.
Saturday we'll be here trying to at least to do the sign an autograph for the fans. Again, everything for PDJF. So we hope that people come in early enough and donate for the PDJF.
Very good. So that's PDJF Day across the country, special events, and that's here at Saratoga too. Just wanted to hit on some of your rides recently. Wanted to go back to the Belmont Derby Trickery. Nice race there. And do you know, are they planning to come back for the Saratoga Derby as well?
That I don't know. That's up to them. I haven't heard anything from them. But he ran a really good race. So hopefully, if he's good enough at trading good enough to for this race, hopefully he'll come back here. Yeah.
And the Belmont Gold Cup
which you won by a head with the Gray Wizard. Do you have to? Is there like mental preparation for a 2-mile race?
Not really, though. It's just hope that the horse relaxes to you, and he's a horse that is kind of one pace the whole way around, and try to get a good trip, work your way, because he's come from way back anyway. Try to work a good trip with him, and hopefully we get there on time.
And after 2 miles, you're surprised it was.
And he's not an easy horse. Like, he's not a horse that's going to take you there all the time. You have to kind of put him into his pace, and he grab you a little bit, he let go. You got to put him back again to hopefully you maintain your position, not going backwards. But he runs, man. When he likes a long distance, so if he's good, he's going to be tough. Yeah.
Finally, fierceness. I have to ask, as the jockey, as handicappers and players, he has been a complete enigma. You're feeling coming into the Jim Dandy with fierceness.
I feel the same the way you feel. It's frustrating that he's definitely very talented and a very good horse, but you don't know when it's going to show up. It's very true. So I think he's really good. I think play the break, see how break look good speed in the race. I think we have a good position and see what my instructions are, but I'm going to leave him what he lays comfortable. Yeah.
Have you worked him in the morning up here?
I haven't since I actually worked him in Kentucky. Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, we wish you a lot of good luck on Saturday, the remainder of the meet.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Yeah, it's PDJF Day, so go over and you can get some memorabilia signed by the jockeys and donate Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund, one of the more worthy racing charities, certainly. And then tomorrow night, karaoke across the street at the harness track as well. All right, as promised, we're joined now by Jason Werth, World Series winner, all-star at one point in the MLB, and now on the owner side of things on the horse racing, in the horse racing game, Dornoch being the most prominent of those. Jason, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you, and talking a little bit about Dornoch and beyond. But first, just how did you transition, retired from baseball? How did you get into the horse racing game?
Started playing golf down in Florida. Retired. I started playing tennis when I first retired, and then realized that wasn't for me. So I slowed it down and started playing golf, and started playing with some guys that owned some horses. And Rich Averill was the one that ultimately got me into the sport, and bought a few horses with him, and then kind of branched out from there.
I'm sure they all started with the letter R, correct?
They did. So I had to get away from that, start my own thing. But no, Rich was great. We had a couple nice fillies and mares. Our Adios Jersey, our Callie Kim. Our Callie Kim, awesome horse. We were kind of pointing her this year, have a big year, hopefully end up in the Breeders' Cup. And the 1.5-mile turf race, and she ended up getting hurt, and then she's in full to flight line right now. So
wow,
yeah,
but
we sold her.
Did she win that Fountain of Youth? We were down covering the Fountain of Youth. Didn't she win that
won,
Fountain of Youth?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool day. Her and Dornoch both won on Fountain of Youth Day.
Yeah,
that ultimately was her last race.
That was my first kind of, I didn't introduce myself or anything, but first kind of informal introduction to you, because I was taking a picture of Rich and Brendan Walsh, and you jumped in the picture.
Okay.
And I was like,
yeah.
But yeah, I talked to Rich after that was a nice race from her, certainly.
Yeah, she was a winning machine.
Yeah. So now you've transitioned over. You're involved Dornoch with Randy Hill and company. Randy's always great. We had Randy and Danny Gargan here with us the day after the Belmont Stakes win. But you're involved with a number of different partnerships and trainers and whatnot. So how are you? Is this a situation where people know you're involved and, hey, we got a horse, you want to jump in?
A little bit. I mean, I think the toughest thing in the sport is the entry. Like, how do you get into the sport? Like, where do you get in, and how do you get in? How do you see yourself? And so far, I've just kind of spread out a little bit and trying some different things with some different people and seeing what fits. And obviously, Dornoch has kind of stolen the show from everybody, and the partnership with those guys has been great.
Let's take a look. We'll go back and take a look at the Belmont Stakes up here. It's a bonus Saratoga meet, and we'll look at Dorno as well of your reaction to the Belmont Stakes win. As I understand it, it was your first visit to Saratoga, so reflect on the Belmont Stakes win and having it happen up here at Saratoga.
Well, it's just such a big deal. So I actually have been here my second day in horse racing. I came to Travers We went up and won a race at Charlestown Oaks at Charlestown with our Adios jersey, and then the next morning we got up and we flew up here for one day for Travers, and yeah, you can see the reaction was pretty unbelievable. So from that first day in Travers, walking around here thinking this place was really cool, having no idea anything about the sport or really how to get into it, you know, from a couple short years later to winning the Belmont at Saratoga with my family and friends, as you can see, a big moment.
It's crazy.
And it's just unbelievable, you know, transition from out of baseball into retirement, into horse racing. My first colt, Dornoch, you know, the journey that he's taken us on to ultimately to win the Belmont and the Haskell, and now we're, you know, pointing towards the Travers in a short period of time to do what we've done in the sport has just been, you know, it's like storybook or something. You know, it's just crazy to have that type of success. And people are like, oh, you know, you're so lucky, you know, we whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. We are living our best lives out here, and I just love this sport, and it's been a great, you know, surprise, I guess, because I don't think people understand how cool the sport can be and how cool it is. And again, I think the reason why is because there's no good entry into it, and we'll
from
see.
what I read, you're maybe thinking about changing that a little bit and maybe coming up with some kind of partnership that can bring some new people in.
Right, I think so. I think there's an avenue here to explore for sure. And you know, as tough as it is to get into the game, to create something like that might be even tougher. So we're working through those things and, you know, talking to some different people. But the good news is I don't think I'm going anywhere. This is a sport for me, and I would love to share it with you know, all my friends, and I think for retired athletes it makes a lot of sense because it gets you back in the game. You get to feel those crazy emotions of winning and losing like you did when you played. And
now you know what the owners feel like.
Yeah, or my wife, my kids are like, this is what we went through. You know, like, you know, I say I never got nervous playing baseball, and like these horse races, I feel like I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown when they're going in the gates. So as soon as those gates open, though, then you're back in the game. It's great.
And you said you made the trip from Charlestown, winning the race. You came up for that Travers, and I'm assuming since you were in with Rich Averill, he came up. And so, did you spend some time out in the backyard with the purple tablecloths, Paul and Duke Matisse?
Yeah, we were out there with Duke and Ogre and those guys, and I stopped by and saw them yesterday. And but yeah, it's you know, it's been a good group to get in with, and good people. This sport is amazing, though. It's a bunch of good people, and these horses are amazing. And you know, I think the old time stigma that kind of might still be there needs to change. It's time for that to change. This is an amazing sport.
And this venue helps do it. You go in the backyard, and men, women, young, old, and all.
It's like nowhere else. I mean, this is a total throwback. You feel like, you know, you're back in time or something.
Yeah, all enthusiastic. Also wanted to touch on, you have one in the first race today, so we'll get you over there certainly. But I told you before we went on the air, and I talked about it this morning on the handicapping show, I love Caraconte firsters. You have Flying Mohawk going in the first race today, going out for Whit Beckman. What are your thoughts on the opener with Flying Mohawk?
Yeah, we like him. You know, Whit's up and coming trainer. He's you know, had Anna Marie in the Derby, and I got a couple horses with him. Great guy, great trainer. We like him. You know, you mentioned the Caraconte. He's been hot, and this horse is pretty cool. He's got a great attitude, and you know, I like the horses that are like real personable, but like, you know, Dornoch's kind of like that, but he also tries to bite you. Flying Mohawk's pretty similar. You get too close, he'll take a pass at you. I kind of like that. You know, I like him to be a little edgy, so he's got that edge to him. And you know, you never know with these babies. You know, we had insubordination the other day. He'd be an insubordinate out on the track, dumped the rider, he got scratched, so he was in also, but he scratched. He'll run next weekend. And I don't know, this game's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Also, I had also pulled up, speaking of Dornoch again, the stretch run to the Haskell last week. Reflect a little bit on that, but also fill us in, because you've obviously been over visiting Dornoch in the morning this week. How did he come out of the Haskell, and how is he going forward?
Great. You know, he's had that little foot problem there for a while that he's been dealing with. Kind of the Derby was the first race that he was you know, kind of through all that. I'm still learning on some of this stuff. You know, I'm kind of a crash course in horse racing, but he's came out of that race again great. And he's just, you know, he's like, you know, I think it was the race at at Keeneland when he broke his maiden, the jockey was like, he said we could put him in the next race and he would win. You know, so he comes out of these races great. He's a tough guy. He's a big sucker. You know, he looks the part. He acts the part. And you know, they took him to the spa for a few days and got back on the track yesterday, and they galloped him today. He's perfect.
And with that victory, because I was doing a handicapping seminar for the Belmont. At that point, I looked at all of the prep races this year and included the Derby and the Preakness. There were 21 different winners of 25 races. So a small handful had put 2 stakes races together as a 3-year-old this year. He, with that victory and the Belmont, now has 3 stakes races. Yeah. So he's kind of stepped to the top of the class, certainly, and looking forward to him coming up in the Travers.
Well, you look at the Remsen race, I think was kind of the eye opener for me, you know, and I feel like it was a little overlooked. You got a bad trip in the Derby, and going into the Belmont at 15-1, he didn't, you know, no one was betting him, I think, except for me. And you know, at 17-1, I was like, this is unbelievable. I thought he was, you know, I thought he was going to win. And you know, going into the Haskell, we liked where we were at, and I don't know, you watch him race, you know, he wants to lead, and then he gets it, and then he kind of comes back to the field, and he kind of lets him run up on him and gives him a little false hope. Too, coming off the thing. So same idea. I think that's just, you know, that's just how he wants to do. He wants to get on the lead, then he sees who's available and who he has to work with at the end, and then he sends it. Him and Louis, they send it.
And in one of the races, you were I don't know what that is.
That was the Remsen, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. The guys are on top of that. I did not call for it, but that's why I didn't know what it was. But one of the races, I didn't pull up the replay, but you didn't want him on the rail.
Yeah, that was the Belmont. So he in the Remsen too. The first time, his first race, he rode the rail and kept running into it, and then the Remsen, he hits the quarter pole and like totally knocks him off stride, and that's when Sierra Leone runs by him. So like he's always like, you know, look, he's a ham, you know. He sees the crowd, he looks up in the crowd and he runs into the rail. So in the Belmont, you know, I'm like he's running great. And he's there. He's close to the rail. And I want him to get off the rail. And he did, and you know, Danny says that they've fixed all that. So you know, Haskell, he was close, but I wasn't really worried about it. And you know, he likes to run. That's where he likes to be, kind of on the lead. And you know, even his first race here was on a sloppy track, and Sees the Gray won, and he was on the rail. He made a big move that day on a dead rail, and that was kind of like the first time where you kind of like, I think we got something here.
Yeah. Danny did the experiment in the bluegrass, and now it's like, well, let him do this thing, and it's worked out very well, certainly. So looking forward, going forward. What kind of horses are you looking for, or have you gotten involved in? Horses coming out 2-year-old sales, yearling sales?
Yeah, kind of done a little bit of everything. Bought a horse in the racing age sale. Haystack ran second the other day with Tyler Honor. Just, I don't know. It's like I'm so new. I'm just kind of trying to feel it out as we go. It seems like the 2-year-olds at the 2-year-old sales are, you know, they get them ready so early, and then they come out of there. They're, you know, not always as good as you think they are. The yearlings are tough because you have no idea what they are. So I don't know. We're putting this thing together and seeing which way it goes. But you gotta be lucky. You know, I let the professionals do their thing with picking out the horses. I don't even pretend to know what I'm talking about there. Yeah, I've got to put a good team together and got good people around me, and you know, it's just so much can happen. There's so much at stake. It's just such a beautiful sport. I'm here for it, and hopefully we can do something to help.
Yeah, and just, you know, after the victories, to hear you talk and whatnot, you've been a great ambassador for the sport. I saw, you know, you did a little piece with the MLB website it was on. They had a great side-by-side of you celebrating the Belmont and celebrating the World Series victory side-by-side. That was a lot of fun. But you've been a great ambassador for the sport. So
thank you.
We're certainly happy to have you on board. And I think it'll be interesting if you can get some kind of maybe micro share thing going. That would be intriguing as well. During the year, I have a lot of partnerships, because the partnerships up here do so well, because part of being in a partnership is the social aspect, and that's big up here. Your backstretch in the morning. So we get a lot of partnerships in here at the various levels, and I always tell people, if you want to get involved, that's the way to kind of take a look.
Yeah, I stopped by the West Pace House this morning for a cup of coffee and watch the track, whatever. It's just, it's a great way to own horses, and it's all about the people you're involved with. It's a great sport to do it with your friends, and I don't know, it's all new to me, but we're figuring something out.
Well, as they say, it's working out well. Before we let you go, I can't get away without asking you some baseball questions. First baseball question I had was, first of all, I saw you hit 652 in high school.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I had a good senior season. That's kind of got me into the first round.
That's what I was going to ask. How did you transition? Because football and basketball, you have a college career and then you go. Baseball's a little bit different. How did you transition into the?
Yeah, so I was a first round pick coming out of high school. Got to AA pretty quick with the Orioles. I was catching at the time. They traded me to Toronto. Toronto moved me to the outfield, and then I went to the big leagues with Toronto. I was kind of odd man out with their organization, and they traded me to the Dodgers, and made the team and kind of broke into the league with the Dodgers. Had a good rookie campaign. Then I got injured that next year, and almost cost me my career in like 4 years of my career. So that's how I wound up in Philly, World Series with Philly, signed with the Nats, 7 years in Washington. So
is that a tough transition, catcher to the outfield?
The farm director came in, was like, I'm going to have this serious talk with me. Like, Jason, we're going to need you to maybe, move positions. Would you consider? And before you could even get it out, I said, yes. I don't care where you're going to put me as long as I don't catch. Yes. So catching's probably the worst job in America.
I was going to say that just the whole squatting down.
It's terrible.
3 hours.
If anything goes wrong, it's your fault. If it's not the pitcher's fault, it's the catcher's fault.
Yeah.
Bad fingers. But it's tough. All those guys, for a tall guy like me, I'm 6'5", so there's not too many 6'5" catchers that had any. There's a few of them, but not many. So I was lucky. They put me in the outfield, and the transition was all right.
And I'm curious too. I said, batting 652 in high school. When I was a kid, I didn't really play any kind of baseball until I was in high school, rec league softball, but I played football and basketball. And there was a football season and a basketball season. I have my nephew's son, so great nephew, grandnephew, who's he's a junior in high school, really good basketball player, but it's basketball all year long. There's like the school season and there's a travel team. So when you were in school, was it that way? Did you dedicate yourself to baseball and it was all year, or did you try some other sports?
Yeah, I played basketball. I didn't play football because the baseball season, our summer baseball team, we traveled like the guys do now.
Yeah.
And so it would run into football season, and the coach was like, you got to be here for summer workouts and all that stuff. I'm like, well, I don't have any aspirations to play football, so I just went from baseball right into basketball, and then from basketball right back into baseball. So nowadays, it's all specialized. You got to play one sport all the time. I think it's a big disservice to the kids. They don't get to, have the fun of playing all the different sports. And but that's the nature of the business. It's big business, these amateur sports now. These poor families are running around like chickens with their head cut off to go in the weekend tournaments, and you have multiple kids in multiple sports. You almost need a
I agree on both parts. I think it's better for the kids to try all of their, how do you know what you're really good at? But as I say, my nephew takes my great nephew. They were at a tournament. They live in Arkansas. They were in a tournament in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, then Indianapolis. And it's
the problem is for the kids, if you don't dedicate towards one sport, you kind of get left behind.
Yeah.
So it's tough. Sports are a cutthroat business, even at the amateur level. It's tough.
Before I let you go, I'm a movie guy, so I'm just curious. Do you have a favorite baseball movie?
I like all of them. Major League and The Natural, Bull Durham. Those are kind of
you listed three that I put on my list.
The big three.
I'm the natural guy because I'm a sucker for a happy ending.
Yeah,
I understand
the Kevin Costner movie was really cool. I thought for being a love story, it had some cool baseball things into it. I always tell people like the clear the mechanism thing that he did when you're out there and like you'd be able to just make it totally quiet. That's real. That's when you're good. That's how it is. When you're in like this, how we had it. When you're bad, you can't get it to stop. You hear everything. So that was a pretty cool thing. I think he did. And the movie was good, but that kind of talked about the zone or whatever you want to call it.
Is that the movie where Tim Robbins Beans the mascot?
That's Bull Durham.
Bull Durham.
Yeah, Nuke Deluche.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Jason, appreciate the visit this morning. We'll get you over for the first race today. Again, I'm looking forward to flying Mohawk. So good luck there.
Yep.
Good luck going forward with Dornoch
Awesome.
and with the whole. How many horses do you own at this point?
I don't know.
That's a good answer. I like that.
My wife loves the sport and she pays the bills. So as I just let her do her thing, and she's happy doing it so far. So that's the tough part of this game is the bills. Being an owner, you get billed for everything. There's got to be a better way, but so far I haven't figured that out yet.
And being friends with Rich and the Matisse brothers, they're big contest players. So they pull you into contests?
Yeah, I'm still learning the handicapping. I don't know what I'm doing. So then when my horse races, I bet on them. So if my horse wins, I win. If my horse doesn't lose, I lose, and I got more bills coming. So
that works. When you have a horse like Dornoch, that's okay.
Yeah, he's taking care of us all.
Jason, we appreciate the visit again. Good luck today and going forward with Dornoch and the rest of the stable as well.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. Seth Merrow here on a Saturday morning. Again, it's a gorgeous Saturday with a couple of nice stakes races up here and a good card otherwise. So if you're headed on up, this is a day to do it. Don't forget, the Pick 3 bankroll is open via the website. Log on and put your name in. We'll pick the team tomorrow. Today, there's the King of the Hill contest at the Clubhouse Racebook and the Bounty Bet as well. So keep all that in mind for today. But otherwise, back in tomorrow, not racing across, Loose on the Lead with Steve Bick tomorrow at 10. Handicappers report at 9. We'll see you then.
Why just watch the races when you can be in the middle of the action? For nearly 20 years, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program has made thoroughbred ownership affordable for the everyday fan. Ownerships of 5 and 10% are now available on a nice selection of horses. As a partial owner with Bonaventure Stables, you'll enjoy all the benefits afforded every owner. Visit with your horse in the private stable area. Greet the trainers and jockeys in the paddock. And when your horse wins, savor the moment in the winner's circle at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, or wherever you bring home the prize. Based in historic Saratoga Springs, Bonaventure Stables has been training winners and creating memories since 2005. Learn more, see available horses, and meet our team at bonaventurestables.com.
Turn your love of racing into savings with equine discounts through the NTRA. Purchase through equine discounts and receive great savings on well-known brands like John Deere, Sherwin-Williams, Big Ass Fans, Farmers Insurance, and Office Depot. Join thousands of other equine members and support companies that give back to the sport we all love. Call 866-678-4289 or visit equinediscounts.com to start saving today.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
You've been watching Racing Across America. Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Also brought to you by Wizard Race and Sports.
Start and thinking this horse might have some ability just based